Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. We're looking at Song of Solomon chapter 1, and it's September the 23rd. Now, we're not going to be reading the whole passage today, but I would like to read to you the commentary that I've written on this particular few chapters, because the book of Song of Solomon is a book that's written without any commentary, without any explanation. There's no chapter divisions, there's no paragraph divisions. We just, thankfully to the good old bishop, we have some chapters, but apart from that, there's nothing to sort of describe the book. So I'm going to just give an outline of the whole book, as I did in my commentary, and then we're going to talk about the passages in front of us today. So we're reading just the first 3 chapters of the book of Song of Solomon. Now, this little book was written either by Solomon or for Solomon, and it's a love story. Now, I should imagine that it was written by Solomon, and it's describing a family living in Shulam, consisting of a widowed mother, several sons, and a young daughter brought up on a mixed farm of crops and sheep. Her brothers took special care to look after her. The young daughter was a shepherdess, and while out one day she shelters under a tree from the noonday sun, and there she meets a shepherd boy, who she later was betrothed to. So one morning in the spring, the boy invites the daughter to accompany her into a field, but the brothers, hearing of this, they send her into the vineyards. The daughter told the boy that she loved him, and her brothers would be unable to dissolve her love for him. She asked him to meet her in the evening, and when he did not appear, she thought something bad had happened to him. So she went in search for him and found him. They were only able to see each other in the evenings, as they were both busy at work in the day. On one occasion she enters into the garden, and she accidentally comes into the presence of King Solomon. King Solomon travelled all over the world looking for the most beautiful women to take into his harem. He happened to be on a summer visit to the area. He was struck by her beauty and took her to his tent, and his servant prepared her for him. He tried to allure her, but without success. And when she was released from Solomon, she tried to find her beloved shepherd boy. But Solomon arranged for her to be taken into the city in the hope of dazzling her with her wealth. But she was not impressed, and her young boy followed in search of her. He managed to meet her, and she was ready to leave the city for her home. Her lover was delighted in her faithfulness, and their love was demonstrated to each other that a number of the ladies of the court were impressed. The king still wanted her and looked for an opportunity to win her heart. He tried all sorts of promises, but she remained faithful to her love. In the end, the king was defeated, and the daughter and her boy were allowed to return home. On their way home, they visited the tree under which they had first met and renewed their devotion to each other. And when she arrived home, her brothers praised her for her fidelity. Now, that's a very quick outline of the whole story. And so what Solomon is doing, he's describing the greatness of his power and wealth, but he's showing how that no matter how great and how powerful he is, everything that he has, everything that he can do is nothing compared with the love of a shepherd girl for a shepherd boy. So it's the story of love, and it's the story of how love conquers all. So let's come back to chapter 1. Chapter 1 is an introduction to the main characters of the book. The story begins with Solomon, who has a young daughter in his palace being prepared for him. And Solomon sings a song of devotion to her beauty. But she replies with a longing for her lost shepherd boy. She has returned. She is answered by her court ladies that she is sunburnt and beautiful. In the end, Solomon admires her devotion to her poor shepherd boy. From chapter 1 verse 12 to 2 to verse 7, we read of her meeting with a shepherd boy in the tents of Solomon. They renew their vows to each other. He says of her, "Behold, thou art fair, my love. Behold, thou art fair. Thou hast dove's eyes." She answers him, saying, "Behold, thou art fair, my beloved, yea, pleasant. Also, our bed is green." You see, they're open. Their only home is the open air. Their only bed is the grass. He says, "The beams of our house are cedar, and our rafters of fir." He calls her a lily among thorns. Then she answers him, verse 3 to 7, she describes him as a fruitful apple, which in this case was probably actually an apricot. Among the trees of the wood, she sits in his shade, and this meeting is like a banquet of joy, and the banner over her is her love, is his love for her. She says, "Keep me here with the joy of fruitfulness, and feed me with apricots, because I am lovesick for you. Hold me in your arms." Then she says to the king's attendants, "Do not entice me to another man." Then from chapter 2 verse 7 to 3 verse 5 we find that they are parted. She is still in the royal court, and she speaks to the women attendants of her love. First she tells them of the first meeting with her young shepherd boy. She said he came skipping on the mountains. She says he is like a young deer, and he came and looked at me from behind the wall and from the windows. Then he calls her, saying, "Rise up and run away with me. It's springtime, the birds sing, and everything is bursting into blossom." He calls to her, saying, "Let me see you and hear your voice." She tells them of her devotion, saying, "He belongs to me, and I belong to him." All through the night she thinks of him. Then in chapter 3 she tells how the watchman hindered her in finding her loved one. She searches for him but cannot find him. When she found him, she would not let him go until she had introduced him to her mother. Then she says, "Do not wake him now, for I have found him." In chapter 3 verse 6 to 5 verse 1 we have the daughter and her love being brought together again. This is the procession of Solomon's court going up to Jerusalem. The inhabitants of the city see the procession coming. They ask the rhetorical question, "Who is this?" And then, of course, they all know the answer. They see his dust trail. They smell the perfume. They see his carriage, his bodyguard. They see his amazing chariot of silver and cedar and gold and purple. They see the palm branches strewn on the road. They hear the invitation to the young women to come and dance in joy at his arrival. And the love story continues tomorrow. Wow, what an amazing book. Who would have thought that in the Bible we would have a whole book devoted to a simple love story? It's the love of a young poor shepherd girl for a young poor shepherd boy. And the amazing thing is that all the wealth and all the women of Solomon are unable to conquer love. So what a beautiful thing this is. And I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Bye for now. Have a wonderful day.